Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. This is Funmibi here again with another video. In today's video, I'll be showing you all how I made this gorgeous headband. It was made with ASOOKE fabric as well as velvet fabric. If you'd be interested in knowing all about this process, please make sure you watch this video to the end. Ensure that you're subscribed to this channel and don't forget to turn on your post notification. Please also don't forget to like this video if you thoroughly enjoyed watching, share with your friends and family and all that good stuff. Before we get into the tutorial, I'll start off by showing you everything you need. You need your velvet fabric. You also need your ASOOKE fabric. You need what we call crinoline. Some people call it horse as well, but yeah, you need something like this. You also need an interfacing. I'm using Estee. Feel free to use any interfacing you like. You need your tape rule for taking measurements. You need your scissors for cutting as well as your thread snipper. You need your soldering iron for dividing your ASOOKE. And you also need your needle and thread. This is my ASOOKE fabric already cut out. I have two pieces of ASOOKE fabric that are 19 inches long, okay? And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to join the two pieces together to give me one single piece of fabric. These are the strips of ASOOKE fabric that I'll be using to wrap my headband. If you're new here and you don't know how to wrap a headband, I'm going to leave a tutorial for you on the screen. This is a little piece of fabric already, I already pressed on interfacing on it. This is what is going to serve as a loop for our fabric. This is also the velvet fabric that we're going to be using. It's 12 inches by 19 inches. I'm going to leave all the necessary measurements on the screen as well as in the description bar, so feel free to check out the description just to confirm anything that you are not sure about. This is how I'm going to be folding my fabric, which is my velvet fabric. This is how I'm going to be folding it, and then I'll sew all the way from the top to the bottom to just create our design, right? And I'm also going to be folding the loop as well. This loop is about 9 inches by 7 inches. I'm folding along the length. It is 9 inches long and 7 inches wide. Feel free to just adjust these measurements if need be, okay? All right, so this is my ASOOKE fabric as well. I'm going to first of all sew it together along the length to give me one single piece before I now go ahead to fold it into two and then sew again along the other side of the length. What I'll have is a little hole that I will now have to turn inside out. These are my fabrics after sewing them, and this is me just turning them inside out. I don't want to bore you guys with the process. That's why I decided to just fast forward this entire bit. You also want to always remember to cut off any stray threads. You don't want to be someone that makes pieces for people and then they see stray threads just hanging loose all over your work. So that's something you should bear in mind when creating your designs. This is how I like to turn my fabric inside out. I like to use my long screwdriver to just assist me in turning fabrics inside out. Right after turning inside out, I also used my fingers to just separate my ASOOKE fabric to ensure that everything feels smooth. After doing this, I took my fabrics to my ironing board and gave the three of them a very good press. I also went ahead to wrap my headband, even though I didn't show the entire process on here because I have a separate tutorial where I showed how it's typically done. So if you've not seen that video, please check out the links that I left in the description bar. Scroll to the bottom of the description, you'll see the tutorial right there. I also linked it on the screen earlier on in this video. With crinoline, when putting crinoline as a form of interfacing for my fabrics, I like to double them most times just to make sure that my fabric has enough stability. If it's not necessary, I only just use a single piece of crinoline. But for this particular work, I felt like I had to double up my crinoline. I tried at first using one single piece and it just wasn't staying as stable as I would have loved it to be. So I decided to double it up, and with doubling, all I do is I just take my piece of paper tape and use it to just sellotape the ends of my crinoline. Right after doing that, I will now pass the doubled up crinoline through my fabric, and I'm also going to illustrate it on the screen. Now that I've successfully passed my crinoline through, I'll just cut off the excess and then also use my paper tape again to secure this other end of the crinoline. If you're familiar with how crinoline is, you know that if you leave it just hanging loose, the edge will start to fray and then your work will now start to get complicated from there. So it's very important that you always try your best to secure the edge of your crinoline, and that is just applying a bit of tape or whatever, solution that you have for yourself to the end of your crinoline to prevent it from fraying. What I like to do is I like to use tape, okay? Usually paper tape. So that's a tip right there, just in case you don't know. Now that this is done, I'm going to repeat this entire process again, but this time on my ASOOKE fabric. I didn't show that process on the screen, and this is what your ASOOKE fabric should typically look like after you pass your crinoline through. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold each of these fabrics over just the way I'm doing, okay, right sides facing each other, and I'm going to sew. And I'm also pointing out where you're sewing to you right there on the screen. This is my loop after sewing as well, and I'm now also going to fold it again one more time and then sew it to create the perfect loop that I'll be passing my design through. After sewing my loop, I'll have to turn it inside out to be able to pass my fabric through, and this is what it should look like after you sew it and turn it inside out. Now that that is done, I'll also turn my velvet design fabric inside out as well as my ASOOKE fabric inside out. After doing this, you want to ensure that the joining of your fabric stays at the center, and then now you will go ahead to get your needle and thread in order to create running stitches at the center. What I'm doing now is I went ahead to grab my needle as well as my thread, and I decided to double up my thread in order to make my stitches very strong. If you don't know how to do running stitches, I'm going to illustrate how I typically go about creating running stitches on my fabric to create gathers. If you are new here and you're yet to get familiar with me and all the tutorials that I've shared so far on the channel, I suggest that you get started by watching my Funmibi Olawore Designs playlist on here on the channel. That way you get up to speed and you know all these terminologies that I'm using in this particular video. I'm going to rush through this process briefly, okay? I'm going to show you how I typically create running stitches and gathers in order to create designs on fabrics like this. I'm going to repeat this process on the ASOOKE fabric as well, and right after doing that, we'll move on to the next stage in this particular tutorial. Now that the running stitches have been created and I've already went ahead to gather up my fabric, now it's be time for us to pass these two pieces of fabric through our cute little loop that we created earlier on. At first, I made a particular loop and that loop was a bit too small. I didn't show us when I made the adjustments. That particular loop, I first of all did a fabric that was about 6 inches by 7 inches. I found that it wasn't long enough. That was why I mentioned that you guys should allow your loop be at least 9 inches long and 7 inches wide in order for it to contain your design. Right after making the adjustment, I went ahead to also pass my designs through the loop. You see how the whole thing is now coming together beautifully. So I'm going to repeat this process, pass the two pieces of fabric, which are the velvet fabric and the ASOOKE fabric, through the loop. And once that is done, I'm going to adjust until everything looks aesthetically pleasing before I now go ahead to attach it to my wrapped plastic headband. If you're yet to like this video so far, if you've been enjoying and getting value from this video, please do well to hit the like button so I know that you guys got value. I'm going to allow you watch me make all the necessary adjustments, and then we'll move on to the next stage in this particular tutorial. Alright guys, so now this is me just applying a little bit of glue onto my headband, which I'm also going to follow up with some hand stitches. If you're new here, I don't like to use just glue when trying to create designs. I like to use glue and then go ahead to also do some neat hand stitches to ensure that all the designs that are created for myself or for my clients remain secure, and no one has to go through any form of wardrobe malfunction when they wear any piece that I created. Alright guys, so after applying your glue, you want to press down really well and ensure that the fabric is sitting perfectly before you now grab your needle and thread and then go ahead to do some hand stitches. With the hand stitches, I'm not going to bore you guys. Like I said, if you're new here, please watch my main playlist where you get to see how I typically do these things. I'm going to move really quickly through this process, show you how I'm doing my hand stitches, and once that is done, we'll move on to the next stage in this particular tutorial. Now that it's all done, this is what the headband looks like. I could have stopped here, but I kept feeling like the headband looked a bit too simple for my liking. So I went ahead to do some overlapping beading design at the center where the loop is, and then the end result looked much better, and I really loved how it all looks. This is what it looks like with the beading detailing on the loop. It looks absolutely beautiful, and I'm sure you all agree. If you enjoyed watching this tutorial, please be sure to hit the like button so I know you guys enjoyed and got value from watching. Also, if you made it up to this point in the video and you're yet to be subscribed to this channel, please do well to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any one of my tutorials. Finally, please do well to share this video with your friends and family, anyone that you think would love this particular type of tutorial. Thank you guys so much again for watching this video. Happy new month to you all, and I can't wait to see you in another tutorial very soon. Bye bye.